Have you ever stopped to think about what your conscience really is? You know, that little voice, that feeling you get deep in your gut? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on it. We're going to dig into this really powerful framework from a clinical psychologist named Michael Lukens. He spent decades on what he calls the physics of emotion. And he sees the conscience not as some big mystery, but as a surprisingly clear, understandable calculus of the human heart. All right, let's get into it.
Right, so we usually think of our conscience as this kind of vague, almost magical force, don't we? It's like a whisper telling us what's right and what's wrong. It feels super profound, but also a little fuzzy, you know? It's a feeling that's hard to pin down.
But what if it's not fuzzy at all? What if it's way more direct? What if the strength, the very existence of your conscience, is directly tied to something we can actually define and understand? And that something is love. That's the big idea we're diving into today. Your conscience is a direct product of your commitments.
Now, to really get this, we have to be super precise about what we mean when we say love. We're not talking about some fleeting feeling or a crush. Nope, we're talking about something way more solid, a concept that's really at the heart of this entire framework.
And here's the key term from Lukens' work: committed benevolent interest, or CBI for short. Think of it like this. It's a conscious, active decision to be invested in someone else's well-being. It's the choice to care. And out of that choice, real promises are born. These aren't just any promises. They are promises based on love. So here's the bottom line. Your conscience is basically the sum total of these love-based promises and how committed you are to actually keeping them. This is so important. It's not about following rules because you're scared of getting caught. That's not conscience. That's just self-preservation. A real conscience is built on the deep-down desire to honor the commitments you've made out of love.
So, if conscience is all about love-based promises, it makes sense that it wouldn't be a simple on or off switch, right? This framework sees it as a spectrum, and where you land on that spectrum has everything to do with the amount of love and connection you have in your life.
And this just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you have someone whose life is full of love. They have this rich foundation for making tons of promises, so their conscience is packed with commitments. But on the other side, if someone's been alienated or hurt or told they don't matter, the very foundation, the substrate, as Lukens calls it, for making those promises is just gone. You simply can't expect a strong conscience to grow in soil where love was never planted.
I love this analogy. Just imagine for a second an X-ray machine that could actually see our commitments. If you scanned someone and saw that they were just full of promises they were deeply invested in keeping, you would literally be looking at the blueprint of a strong conscience. It makes this abstract idea feel totally tangible.
Okay, so if a strong conscience is all about keeping promises, what happens when we break one? Well, this is where we need to completely flip the script on how we think about guilt. See, it's not your enemy, it's your guardian.
Let that sink in for a second. Guilt is not a bug in your emotional software, it's a feature. It was designed perfectly, an essential part of the system that's there to tell you when something you deeply value is at risk.
And here's exactly how it works. When you mess up, when you step outside the lines of a promise you made from love, that sharp, uncomfortable pang of guilt, that's the alarm bell. It's a signal designed to make you stop, pay attention, correct your course, and get back in line with your own commitments. And in doing so, it protects the very love that created that promise in the first place.
This quote just nails what a healthy relationship with guilt looks like. It's about accepting how the system is engineered. That punishment to feeling guilty is just your own heart reminding you what's important. Fighting against your guilt is like trying to shut off a smoke detector while the kitchen is on fire. You're fighting for the wrong team, against your own values. But here's where it gets even more nuanced and honestly really interesting. Even for people who have strong love-based consciences, there's not just one way for it to work. There are different styles, different ways of managing this whole internal economy of promises.
So, on the one hand, you've got the hyperactive conscience. This is the person who makes promises to lots of people and is incredibly sensitive about keeping every single one. They might feel guilty over really small stuff. Then you've got the myopically devoted. This person makes fewer promises, but the ones they make are ironclad, usually to a very small circle of people. They might walk right past a stranger who needs help because they're on an errand for their partner, and they'll do it with a clean enough conscience because they're perfectly aligned with their core commitments. And here's the thing, neither one is better than the other. They're just different styles.
So why does all of this matter? What's the big payoff for understanding this stuff? Well, because this whole internal dynamic, this calculus of love, promises, and guilt, it has a huge direct impact on our overall sense of who we are.
Your self-esteem, or what the source material here calls your morale, is a direct reflection of how you handle the system. When you know what your promises are, you honor them, and you accept guilt as a helpful guide, your self-esteem is solid. But when you're constantly fighting your own guilt or breaking your own commitments, you're basically at war with yourself, and your morale just tanks.
So let's wrap this up. Your conscience isn't some mysterious fog. It's the solid structure of your commitments born from love. Guilt is not a mistake. It's a vital alarm system protecting what you care about. Your sense of self-worth is totally linked to how well you honor your promises. And really, at the end of the day, understanding your conscience is just another way of understanding the absolute core of who you are. So I'll leave you with this to think about. If you look at your life through this lens, what are the core promises, the non-negotiable commitments you've made out of love that truly form the foundation of your conscience?